The fact that Biden has dementia is not a surprise to anyone in the American general populace, at least to those with ears and or eyes, for they will know, based just on how he looks around and how he speaks without any sense of coherence, that Biden doesn't have all his marbles up there. And this has been the case since, to one degree or another, since before he was ever even appointed as president. So it shouldn't be a surprise that as time has gone on, his dementia symptoms have progressed to get worse and worse. Yet, it seems to have reached a point of exponential growth where now he has gotten substantially worse over a much shorter period of time than might be expected. You see, it's a normal practice under the Biden administration for every month or so, Biden to say something completely absurd, for then the administration to simply say, that's not what's happening, okay, no, don't worry about it, Biden's crazy, we're not doing that. But recently, over just the past couple of days, the frequency has increased to amazing proportions. There have been no less, you see, than 4 times just the past couple of days in which the Biden administration has had to take comments that Biden has just made and contradict them immediately, whether that be with regard to Putin regime change, or chemical weapons in Ukraine, or troops in Ukraine, or Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings, and whether Biden actually watched any of them or not. Biden has been contradicted by his administration a lot over the past week, and it's quite interesting, but what got my noggin a-jogging a bit was actually this clip right here.
Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine. It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia, and we know...
None of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We were talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there, you were not intending to
I was referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops that were in Poland.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind?
It will trigger a significant response.
It's amazing to me just how much Biden is brazenly trying to pretend that none of these clips ever even happened, or more specifically, that there was no walk back. He's trying to pretend that he didn't call for regime change in Russia specifically when he did, and trying to say, well, the administration is not contradicting me, actually. Now, all of this can be explained quite well with the fact that Biden is a dementia patient and has lots of memory issues, and thus cannot remember what he said even 5 minutes ago. But what confuses me about all of this is the fact that the administration, who has had a tight leash on Biden since, once again, before he even got appointed, is letting him loose, because he was over in Europe speaking and doing all of these talks and making all of these comments within a short succession in which he was out and actually speaking. Now, the normal course of the Biden administration is for Biden to be out of the way for 99% of all days, and only to come back occasionally for a press conference that is strictly scripted and has little to no press conferences. But it seems that the strategy has changed quite substantially over just the past couple of days, because Biden has been saying a lot over the past couple of days. He has gone to a lot of functionaries, done a lot of speeches, done a lot of those sorts of stuff, and answered a lot of questions, which is quite at odds with the fact that he has dementia. So, the query comes to mind. Is this on purpose? Is the Biden administration doing a purposeful strategy in letting Biden wander around and say completely absurd things? Well, let's just look once again about what comments were made that were contradicted by the Biden administration. 3 of the 4, which are the ones that I think are potentially a part of this strategy, are about specifically the Russia-Ukraine situation, and all of them are calling for more and more intervention and more action on the part of America in Ukraine, which, might I add, is quite convenient for the Biden administration, because if people believe that Biden is real tough on Russia, man, he really wants to take out that Putin guy, whereas his administration is doing basically nothing on that front, or if he's coming out hoorah in favor of the incredibly corrupt government of Ukraine, which we're just going to pretend he has no corrupt relations to himself, the blue and yellow flags on Twitter are going to be very happy about this, because, well, it's the current thing, and he's showing support for it. And that is what I think the Biden administration is doing with their strategy here. Because, you see, as with news corrections, many more people are going to see the original clip of Biden calling for Putin to be taken out of power than they are actually going to see Biden's administration contradicting it. And even among those who do see the second video, they're still going to believe that it's the administration hamstringing Biden, and it's simply that Biden wanted to go farther than the administration was willing to do, and they weren't willing to do what was necessary, and all of that sort of stuff. And that is what I think the strategy is, because allowing Biden to walk around and pretend to be a whole tough on Russia guy while giving them basically everything they want for the first year of his presidency until they literally invaded Ukraine, that, well, it's very convenient for their image. It's very convenient for their narratives as well, because they've been trying to push Biden tough guy on Russia for literally the entire time that they were capitulating to Russia and are now going out gung-ho against him. But at the same time, they don't want to go into reckless actions that are simply not going to work in large respect, because, well, they're not totally crazy. They aren't Joe Biden. So they need to do this middle ground and this little hopscotch game where we're trying to pretend to be more extreme than we are. And I think that's the strategy here, is that they want the base, or the people who are likely to become more approving of Biden if they see the clips of Biden going hoorah on Putin, to then to come to their side more and more, and trying to bolster Biden's flagging approval ratings. And if that ends up working, well, who cares if he's being contradicted by his administration on a daily basis? The point is that his approval ratings are up, and that's what the Biden administration largely cares about. And so that's their strategy. That's what they're trying to do, and I'll say, don't fall for it. Now, of course, all of these examples are probably likely real examples of Biden going off script and saying things that the administration, while they may think is advantageous for him to say these sorts of things, are not exactly what he was told to say. And so there's certain disconnects there. But that's how it stands. And I really do think there's potentially a purposeful strategy here. Now, a lot of that's speculation, but I think it's a legitimate area of speculation and thought for you guys to think over. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys off. If you want to check my platforms, my other platforms out, if you're on YouTube and after you've subscribed there, of course, go check out my other platforms down in the description, where I have links to all of those, whether it be my BitChute, my Odyssey, my Brighteon, my Rumble, all of those are down in the description. Once again, I suggest you go check them out. I'm KelKidman. This has been Breaking on the Daily. Don't be square.